Diary of a Mystic. Welcome back to my channel.
The most important thing, like, I'm not sure, I'll just wait for you to ask a question, but like, I want them wherever they're at. Like, I have no inclination of where they're at right now. Like, I've exhausted like every friend that I know of, and every friend that I have has called friends that Shanann has that maybe I didn't know about, and it's just like it's like it vanished. Like, she's not, like, when I got home yesterday, it was like a ghost town. Like, she wasn't here, kids weren't here. I have no idea like where they went, and it's just earth-shattering. I don't feel like this is even real right now. It's like a nightmare that I just can't wake up from.
Chris, when did you learn that they weren't here?
I guess, well, I texted her a few times and called her. I didn't get a response, which that was a little off.
This is Diary of a Mystic. This is Diary. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my channel.
This is Diary of a Mystic. Welcome back to my channel.
This is Diary of a Mystic. This is part 2 of the Lenormand reading surrounding Nichol Kessinger for Patreon. We're going to begin with the last 2 rows of the reading. The last 2 rows specifically bring in Chris Watts himself as well as Nichol Kessinger. If you look at the second row towards the right, we have man. On the last row towards the left, second card, we have woman. So the last 2 rows very much signify or play a part in the role of Chris Watts as well as Nichol Kessinger. Beginning with the first card in the second row, or in the third row, so the last 2 rows, the number 19 card we have is Tower. So Tower comes in, and Tower is authority. So this is authority, this is government, this is law enforcement. So after everything was made public, going back to Garden in the second row, last card, number 20, we now go immediately to authorities. So the reading is validating this in a form of a storyboard. Lenormand is read very much as a storyboard or storyline. So because Tower is a very neutral card, any cards surrounding Tower give it much influence. If we look above the Tower card at number 8, which is Coffin, that is loss and death. The card next to Tower is 4, which is House, and this is death in the home. So right there is a validation of authority stepping in to look into the deaths in the home. Next to House, we have Bear. And Bear is also a neutral card. So whatever cards are surrounding Bear have a great influence. Bear is very much about authority. Again, power, strength. It's also a card of boss. So strength and authority have stepped in, and they're both framing House. Tower's authority, Bear's authority. They're both framing the home. So the home was taken over by authorities. It was locked down. It was now under investigation. It was being investigated, the events that had taken place in the home. Bear can also be a card of power and force, which can go back to describe the events that took place in the Watts home of power and force and of strength. Bear can also be very much associated with money And as we all know, allegedly the Watts at the time in their marriage were up against many financial burdens. Bear can also represent protectiveness or a protective mother. Shanann was very protective of her children, especially her youngest, Cece, who had the peanut allergies. So we have validation in the reading of protective mother in the home. Going further, we see number 2, which is Clover. Clover is luck. Luck stepped in immediately within the first week of the deaths of the family. It didn't necessarily take very long at all. Within a few days, Chris Watts was effectively arrested. So there was luck that stepped in. There were things that serendipitously, if you'd like to call it, opened up very quickly, and signs were presented very quickly. So luck came in the investigation to thwart any other elusive plans that Chris Watts may have had. Next to this is Moon, which is a card of fame, public recognition. Because of that public recognition, next to that, we have the card of Mountain. So because of the publicity, the media coverage, the sensationalism of what happened, we then came up against blockage, which is Mountain next to Moon. It's an obstacle card, it's blockage, and it's barriers. So they were still up against many barriers, especially coming from Chris Watts himself in terms of not revealing the truth right away. He didn't, of course, we know, pass his lie detector test. He also did not tell the truth in taking responsibility at first for the deaths of the children. He blamed Shanann. So the investigators were up against a big mountain of obstacle with him. So they had an uphill battle with him in terms of trying to squeeze out the truth. Next to this, we have Fish, which Fish is very much associated with money. So in the third row, we have House, Bear. Bear can very much be associated with money as well. Clover can be associated with money as well. Fish can be associated with money as well. So there was some type of asset or insurance claim or something that Chris Watts would have gained financially from the removal of his children and his wife. Fish is next to Man, which is the significator card for Chris Watts. The Man is looking at the fish, the mountain, the moon, the clover, the bear, the house, the tower. He's looking at all this information. He's looking at everything. Protective mother in the home. Wanting to gain money. The obstacles. Okay, so there's something financial in this for him where he may have thought, well, if I dispose of them, then I'll be able to reap my insurance claim. I'll be able to reap whatever it is he was trying to gain. So with Chris Watts looking back at the financial gains or looking at the money and looking at the obstacles with money, mountain is next to fish, which is the obstacles he was facing financially, the burden that he was facing financially that was weighing heavy on him. Next to man, we have anchor. So anchor speaks of stability, home, security. He had all that. He had a home. He had a stable job. He had a safe place to go. His children had a safe place to go. He dropped his anchor when he decided to marry Shanann and form a family. So he was anchored into this marriage with her. But that was behind him. He's now looking at the burden, the obstacles of financial loss, financial stress. He's looking at her being very protective of the children. Maybe to him, she was overly protective or overly dramatic because of the stresses of having to worry about the children's health or worry about the cost of the medicine or worry about how his parents felt and didn't respect Shanann's wishes. So he's looking back. His back is turned. If you look at the reading, his back is turned to anchor. He's no longer anchored in that marriage. He turned his back on that. He was not appreciative of what he had. He wasn't grateful for what he had. He was looking at it from a different perspective. It was more of a burden. There's a lot of burden in this reading. The children were becoming a burden. Money, stresses of money became a burden. So if you look above man, you see letter or writer. You see writer. So he was wishing. He was wishing for a new beginning. He was wishing for some type of move. He was wishing to go places. He didn't want to be anchored anymore. He was wishing to be on the move. But things were getting in the way of this for him. I do believe that he had plans to marry Nichol Kessinger or to propose to her. And I'll get to that in a minute with the final line. If you look below man, we have bouquet. You have bouquet, so that's a positive card of gifts and surprises and exchanges and engagements. He wanted that with her. She wasn't a burden to him. She was exciting. She wasn't a burden to him financially. She wasn't a burden to him with being an overprotective mother. She wasn't a burden to him. She didn't have children. So let's go to the final line. The final fourth line, we see dog next to woman. Woman represents Nichol Kessinger in this reading. She is looking at the dog. Dog symbolizes friend, loyalty, faithfulness. She was standing by his side. She stood by his side no matter what. I feel that she still is loyal to him in some regard, whether it's an emotional loyalty that she holds on to, but she's looking at dog. To her, She was faithful to him, whether he was married or not. She regarded their relationship as a faithful partnership, even in the lieu of obviously having an affair and knowing that she was sneaking around with a married man who had children. To her, this relationship, she felt that it was a faithful, loyal relationship and that Chris Watts was loyal and faithful to her, which is kind of delusional when you think about it. So she's looking at dog. She's looking back on that. So next to woman who represents Nichol Kessinger, we have stars. Stars is recognition. Everybody in the world recognizes who NK is. It also represents intention. It represents her heart's desire. It represents wishful thinking. Her heart's desire was to have that man. If you look above stars, you see bear. Bear was the protective mother. She couldn't have Chris Watts because of Shanann. She couldn't be with the man that she felt so loyal to and so faithful to because of his wife. If you look at woman and look to the left, tower sits above her as well as house. The authorities were on her very quickly, whether she came forward first or not. They would have been on her sooner rather than later. So they had their eye on her, probably before she stepped forward as quickly as she did. So just keep that in mind. She may have stepped forward on her own, but they probably most likely knew about her before she approached authorities. So going forward from this point, after stars is where it gets interesting. Next to this, we have Scythe, number 10. Scythe is a negative card. Scythe is taking no responsibility for your actions. It's a card of danger. It's a card of any kind of threat. It's also a card of severing something, separation, cutting ties. There was something that she may have wished for when it came to Chris Watts and his family. She may have wished for separation. She may have wished for desperately for him to get a divorce, obviously. And this is a card of danger. There's danger surrounding this woman. I feel that she either has or had some type of responsibility to the events surrounding Shanann and her children, because that card is so close to her. So woman, when you look at woman, you always pay attention to the cards that are closest surrounding the significator cards, and Scythe is very close to her. It's also very much cutting ties. For all we know, Nichol Kessinger could have been having death threats sent to her. She may have been moved very quickly. She may have dropped everything and had to cut ties or separate from her daily life after this event happened very quickly. I feel that she was quickly moved. And I felt that in other readings that I have done about her, that she had to quickly go. So next to Scythe, we see ship. And ship is movement. So ship's very much about travel. This can also be foreign places, traveling. So she's definitely, of course, moved out of where she was living at the time in August of 2018, but she's also been on the move. I don't feel that she's planted in one spot. I feel that she's been on the move. This reading tells me that she has been on the move. So she's been on the move, and she may also be on the move for safety reasons. Okay. Even after all this time, she still may be on the move because she's so widely recognized. Next to ship, we have sun, and this is a card of, when it comes to seasons, is summer or a warm place. She may even be somewhere where it's very sunny and warm. This also is a card of any type of positivity. Ship can also indicate movement in this case regarding her. And with sun coming in, this can also be an indicator of positivity and success. And it's also a card that's a yes card. So there also could be possibilities of any type of positive action that is taken from authorities where they felt that they had obstacles. Above sun, we see mountain, which is obstacles. So next to sun, we see tree. So tree comes in. This is a card about your health. I feel that she's faced or has had health challenges since this case broke, especially mentally. This is a card of health. She may have had to have been moved. She also, with Scythe in the reading, also could have had surgery of some kind. So there's definitely something surrounding her and her health. This could most likely be, apparently Chris Watts spoke about that she was bipolar. Okay, so there's something coming in surrounding her health, especially with tree in the reading. And this could also be indicative of her mental health. So I feel that she was or has been on the move, and her mental health has greatly been affected. So next to tree, we see the bouquet card. So bouquet comes in, and this is a surprise. This also can indicate a beautiful woman. It can be a gift of some kind, an exchange of some kind. This is a positive card. So there has been perhaps some type of exchange between her and Chris Watts since this event has happened. Many speculate on whether or not she's communicating with him. But there's some type of gift or exchange that either she has received or she is sending to him, possibly. This also can be an indicator of some type of positive movement surrounding her in this case. Next to, and the final card we have is clouds. Clouds is a negative card. So clouds is next to bouquet, which is a positive card. Clouds is also below anchor. Clouds comes in. This is confusion, darkness, problems, stormy weather. This is clarity. This card brings knowledge. Okay. So it's the only card that can bring clarity and knowledge. next to the Sun card. The Sun card brings a lot of clarity and knowledge. But this is confusion. This is darkness. This is problems. This is stormy weather. And I feel that stormy weather is coming for her. Something's on the rise, something's on the horizon, because this is the final card in the reading. They may also extend, authorities may extend to her an invitation. They may come across as being positive, whereas its intention is not positive at all. With Bouquet, that's an exchange, that's a gift, that's an invitation. There may be an invitation extended to her, just as like the authorities extended an invitation to interview Chris Watts again back in February. Their intention was not to be buddy-buddy with him. Their intention was to get more of the truth, which they may be applying to her as well. So ending with Cloud. This is really unpleasant energy. Something's being stirred up. Something's definitely being stirred up, and stormy weather is coming in some regard. I've always said within 6 months, and I really feel that more's to come sometime during this year. As small as it is or as large as it is, there's something that's still left over or that is residual surrounding Nichol Kessinger and her part in terms of whether justice will be served in her alleged involvement in this case, whether it's indirectly or directly. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the second half of the Nichol Kessinger Lenormand reading to give you some insight into this case that is still on everyone's minds. So thank you so much for being a patron of Diary of a Mystic on Patreon, and I look forward to putting out more videos and readings coming out next. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed.